Sudam Devam Kansachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Hari Om. So, from verses 6 to 18 in chapter 14, Sri Krishna will explain about the three gunas covering five topics. That is Lakshanam. Lakshanam means what is the nature of each guna, and Bandhanam, how each guna binds the jiva to the body. So these two topics were covered in verses 6, 7 and 8. Then in verse 10, Sri Krishna explains that although we all have the three gunas in us, there will always be one guna which will dominate and suppress the other two. So our personality will be governed by that dominating guna. Then the next topic was lingam. Lingam means what is the sign of each guna? How do I know which guna is dominating in me right now? So this is discussed in verses 11, 12 and 13. Then in verses 14 and 15, Sri Krishna will discuss the topic of gati, meaning at the time of death, depending on which guna is dominating in you, what will be the destination. And finally, the last topic is phalam. What is the fruit or result of each guna in us while we are living? So how, which guna is dominating in us, in that way we will interact with the world while we are living. This is discussed in verse 16 and 17. So we have already discussed verse 11 last week, that deals with Sattvic Lingam, but we will briefly recall the teachings in verse 11, then proceed on with the further verses. Okay. So what is the sign that Sattvic Guna is now dominating in you? So this verse will help us to understand. Here he says, Yada, when Prakasha. The word Prakasha means light, illumination. So what is this light? Light of what? He says Prakasha Jnanam. It is the light or the radiation of knowledge, illumination. And where does this light arise in you? Because, when we see these highly realized souls, they seem to radiate some kind of positive energy. They seem to look very bright and very, very, what's the word for it? Very pure and all that. So where does this light radiate in us? He says, Upajayate, it radiates asmin dehi, in this body, radiates all over our body. So this divine light, that's why when we encounter anybody who is a realized soul, who is endowed with this spiritual knowledge, we bow down not to the person, but we bow down in reverence to the knowledge which is in that person. And what is the behavior of such a person? Very calm, very peaceful, very compassionate in behavior. So how has this knowledge been absorbed? How does it come to light up our whole body? And Krishna says here, Sarva Dwareshu. Sarva meaning all, Dwareshu meaning the doors or the gates of our body. So it means that the five, what is known as the Jnana Indriyas, the eyes, the nose, the ears, the tongue, the skin, they are the ones which bring all this knowledge from the external to our mind. So whatever we read from the scriptures, whatever spiritual talks we hear through these five senses, and whatever we experience when we go to temple, as I told you, we use all our five senses to experience a temple. So whatever radiates through that, whatever we absorb through that radiates throughout our body. So the five senses are very, very, what we call, they're very receptive. So how do I know, therefore, that sattvic gunas are now predominant in me? Is because all my five senses are very receptive to anything spiritual. I like to hear bhajans. I like to see the form of the Lord. I like to read scriptures. I'm attracted to all these activities. So that tells me that sattvic gunas are now getting stronger and stronger in me. So, and what happens when knowledge radiates in you? Just like if there is a dark room and you shine a light into the dark room, immediately every object in the room becomes very clear, is it not? So, same way, when we absorb this knowledge, it radiates in us, all our doubts, our confusion, our ignorance is totally removed. We see things more clearly. We understand things more clearly. We are able to analyze our reaction and our life also. So jnanam becomes very clear in you. So the Lord says, if you have all these signs, if all your senses are attracted by spiritual matters, then he says, tadha, then understand. Vidyat, one should know, iti sattva vivridam. You should know that it is the sattvic gunas that are vivridam, means they are fully developed in you. Now, the sattvic guna is your dominating guna. It has suppressed the rajasic and tamasic. So you see what happens. The more and more you go on the spiritual path, as you get attracted to spiritual activities, your desire for the worldly attractions, what happens? It drops. Now, here is beautifully explained why it drops. Because when your sattvic gunas arise, they suppress the rajasic and tamasic gunas. Rajasic gunas drive us to the world. But when your sattvic gunas get strong, they suppress the rajasic gunas, your inclination for worldly pleasures and desires automatically drops in you. You find no more attraction from the world. So it is a very natural process. So the Lord says you should know that sattvic gunas are dominating in you and they are suppressing the rajasic and tamasic gunas. Now that doesn't mean that once you reach that stage, you just say, okay, I'm very sattvic now, I don't have anything else to do. We have to be very disciplined and very alert because there are a lot of worldly attractions still. There are a lot of distractions. So it is very important when you have reached that state, you have to keep that sattvic guna strong. You have to carry on your spiritual practices, whatever you've been doing on the spiritual path, your prayers, reading scriptures, chanting mantras, all that you have to keep on continuing on to do that. Otherwise, again, your sattvic gunas will get weak. So morning, if you can, get up early and do your spiritual practices, especially in that what is known as that Brahma Muhurat, 1.5 hours before sunrise. If you can't do that, at least before you sleep in the night, at least spend some time on all your spiritual practices, whatever you want to do. Okay. So this is for sattvic gunas. Now, how do I know if rajasic gunas are dominating in me? Okay. So, in a sattvic person, the mind is calm, the mind is pleasant, the mind is peaceful. Whereas a rajasic dominant person, he is also active, but what is the purpose? What is it that drives his activities? So, what is it that drives his activities? Krishna says in verse number 12, Lobha. Lobha means greed. Okay, Lobha, that is the first sign of a Rajasic person. And if you have this greed in you, that means your Rajasic Gunas are now very strong. Now, the question is, what is the difference between desire and greed? There is desires also are dangerous, but here he's specifically pointing out lobha, greed. So, what is the difference between desire and greed? Do you see that? Do you understand the difference between desire and greed? When you keep on giving in to your desires, and there are always multiple desires, there's no end to desires. Every time you give in to your desire and you satisfy that desire, it results in greed. So greed is when you can no longer control your desires. They are out of control. So it is like in Mahabharata, it is given that desires, what you call satisfying desires, is like putting ghee into the fire. The more and more ghee you put in the fire, the more bigger the flame becomes until you're unable to control that flame. That is greed. So here the Lord specifically points out to greed as the biggest downfall, or the what we call the of a Rajasic person, the lingam of a Rajasic person. Okay, and it is the greatest downfall of a person, because greed will eventually overpower your capacity to think clearly. It overpowers it. So it is like a cloud. It covers up your capacity to think and rationalize. It overpowers you. You are driven by that greed. Next problem, or next lingam of Rajasic gunas are pravrti. Pravrti means constant, endless activity. So this greed and lobha and pravrti go hand in hand, because the more greed you have, it drives you to more action. The more action you do, you satisfy the greed becomes more stronger and it drives you to further action. So lobha and pravrti go hand in hand. Mind is restless, it drives you to action. And throughout the day, we are running, from the time we are born till the time we die, we are doing so much of activity for the purpose of what? For the purpose of keeping this body comfortable, isn't it? Wearing nice clothes, eating good food, going on holiday. Everything we run after is to take care of this body, so it must be very comfortable and very enjoyable for this body. So whole time we are running around for what? For this body. So that is what greed and desire and greed and activity drive us to. And there is a famous saying in Sanskrit which illustrates greed. The saying is like this: the one who has no money, he just wants $100. Tells God, I'm satisfied. $100 you put in my pocket, I'm happy. But the minute the person has $100, he wants $1,000. The one who has $1,000 wants 100,000. The one who has 100,000, according to this Sanskrit proverb, the one who has 100,000 wants to be the king. So the king is the one who rules the whole world. So it's not enough, I have money, but now I want to rule the whole world. And the one who is the ruler, he becomes the king, he becomes the ruler of the world, he's not happy. What is the next he wants? He's now the ruler of the whole world. He's asked the Lord, I want to be the ruler. So he's conquered the whole world now. He's the ruler of the whole world. But still not enough. What else he wants? What is the next desire you can go for? You see how a greedy mind can think. So since you all are not greedy, I have to tell you then, what is the next? After being the ruler of the world, he wants to be Indra. Who is Lord Indra? Ruler of the Swarga Loka, all the what you call the heavenly planets, Indra. He wants to be Indra. Then not enough, wants to be Indra. When he becomes Indra, what he wants to be? Brahma, the creator. Right? Then he wants to be Vishnu. Then he wants to be Shiva. So there is no end actually. That's what the The proverb is trying to tell you there is no end to your demands, there is no end to your desire, there is no end to your greeds. So this person, the Lord says here, is constantly occupied by arambha. Arambha means undertaking. Undertaking of what? Planning, karmanam, actions. But sattvic people are also active, rajasic people are also active, tamasic people sometimes also they can be active also when they wake up from their sleep, but there is a difference. So the rajasic people are active, but that is what is called as sakama karmas. You would have heard this term. Sakama, sakama karmas. Now, what is sakama karmas? Kama means desire. Kama is desire. Sakama means backed by selfish, greedy desires. You're not interested whether your actions help others. In fact, you may even destroy other people's lives in order to get what you want. So, sakama karmas. That is satisfying selfish desires. That is the nature of a rajasic person. Tamasic person also does actions which are called nishida karmas. N for Norway, Nishida. Nishida karmas. Nishida karmas means forbidden actions. Actions which are not sanctioned by the scriptures. So they give in to all these kind of forbidden actions. And what about sattvic people? They perform actions. They are also driven by desires. But what type of desires? Nishkama karmas. Nishkama. Nishkama karmas means every action is devoid of any selfish desire. How do we make sure that our action is devoid of selfish desire? The only way is that if we surrender the action to the Lord, if we consider ourselves as an instrument in the hands of the Lord, then we eradicate all our selfish desires. Because we are not looking at the result of the action anymore. We are just interested to perform the action as a service to the Lord. So that way we eradicate the ego, we eradicate all these selfish desires. Consider ourselves as an instrument in the hands of the Lord. So sattvic people act, rajasic people act, tamasic people also act, but their intentions are different. What else is the nature of this rajasic mind, the what we call the lingam? The next quality here that Krishna gives us in verse 12, the second line, you can see the word asmaha. Asmaha means the mind is always restless, the mind is always worrying. And this restlessness and worrying always has to do with the past, and it has to do with the present, because he wants to hang on to whatever he has. So whatever power he has, money he has, property he has, fame he has, he wants to hang on to it. He's very scared that this thing might anytime might falter, might break down. So he's always worried, tension, how to hang on to all these things. Mind is constantly focusing on this. And if that is not enough, the next quality given there is spraha. Spraha means hankering. Hankering for what? Hankering for the future. So what I don't have now, I hanker for more and more. So what you have also you're worried about, and what you're trying to get in the future also you're worried, will I get it? How will I get it? The mind is always preoccupied in scheming, planning, plotting how to satisfy all these demands. So even you can find that there are rajasic people who are spiritual. And these rajasic spiritual seekers, what happens? They go to one guru. And then if the guru cannot solve the problem, what they do? They go to another guru. Go to one temple, cannot settle the problem, find another temple. So they keep running from here, running from there. Why? Because they want instant solution. They want an instant, their problems to be settled instantly. This is the nature of the Rajasic mind. So there was a little joke I read that day. A man, long time he hadn't seen his friend, so he went to his friend's house, and he saw the friend was very depressed, very distressed, and all that. So he asked him, "Why are you so sad?" So the man told him, 2 weeks ago, my uncle passed away. He left me $25,000 in his will. So I said, 25,000 he left you, then why are you depressed? Then he said, why I'm depressed? Because last week my auntie also passed away. Then she left me another 25,000 in the will. So the man said, you should be happy. 2 weeks ago your uncle died, you got 25,000. Last week your auntie died, you got 25,000. Why are you depressed? He said, because this week nobody died. So that means what the Rajasic mind, we want things very quickly and instantly, always hankering for more and more. So the Lord says in this verse, if you have all these signs, greed is there, constant activity, selfish activity is there, desires are there. He says, etani, these are the signs, such as greed, restlessness, endless activity for selfish gains. Even night when you're sleeping, the dreams are about what? Is it the dreams about God? Dreams about, what you call, how to help people? Dreams about money, money and money. Cannot stop thinking about money. So the Lord says, etani, these signs are jayante, they come into manifestation in a person when Rajasic gunas are vivrude, when they are fully developed. That means when Rajasic gunas have overpowered your Sattvic and Tamasic gunas, all these signs, this lingam will be in you. Constant greed, constant activity to acquire more and more and more. You're not interested in helping anybody. You're not interested in spiritual activities. You only want to know what else can you get for yourself. So this is when Rajasic gunas are dominating in us. Okay. And we have to be very careful when these kind of qualities are in us. If we don't control them, it will end up into a bigger problem. Okay. So later, Krishna will tell us also how to overcome all these gunas also. And chapter 15 will also explain to us what are the sadhanas we have to do. There are 4 sadhanas which will be given in chapter 15. How we can overcome all these 3 gunas. Okay. So now let's look at verse 13, which explains about the lingam of tamasic gunas. Okay. So the first quality given in verse 13 is aprakasho. Now, if you notice this word aprakasho is completely the reverse of verse 11. What was the quality of a sattvic? Prakasha. So prakasha means enlightenment, knowledge, brilliance. But the tamasic person is totally opposite of the sattvic person. So the word is used aprakasha. What is aprakasha? Dullness. Okay, right? Dullness, laziness, etc. That is when the tamasic gunas are suppressing your sattvic and rajasic gunas. The person is not interested in any path to do with knowledge. Not only spiritual knowledge, but also worldly knowledge. When we are devoid of knowledge, the person is misguided in his outlook of life. So later Krishna will explain what are the problems that can happen in a tamasic person. Okay, totally misguided person has got no direction, has got no aim in life, is just happy to sleep and eat and do minimum work and get maximum pay. And the second quality is, you look at the Sanskrit verse again in verse 13, line 1, apravriti. Apravriti is totally opposite of Rajasic guna, that word which is used in verse 13. What was that word? In the first line of the Sanskrit text, you see that? Pravriti. So Rajasic person is pravriti, constantly driven to action. Tamasic person is totally opposite of a Rajasic person. So the word is used apravriti, which means inactivity, laziness, etc. So you can see the tamasic gunas are totally opposite of sattvic and rajasic gunas. Neither are they interested in knowledge, neither are they interested in to do any activity, any action. Laziness. Okay. So, and then there's a third quality of tamasic people, third lingam. What is that? Pramada. Pramada means inadvertence. It means that whenever a tamasic person is pushed to do any action, he is prone to carelessness. He makes mistakes. And why is it that he makes mistakes? Because he doesn't want to get the knowledge. If somebody tries to teach him how to do this work, he's not interested. He doesn't want to listen. So when there is no knowledge and he does the activity, there's definitely going to be mistakes. There's definitely going to be problems. So he's not interested in knowledge. He will continue making mistakes in his work also. And he's not interested to listen to anybody. And then the next nature of a tamasic person is moha. One of the biggest problems of any human being, moha, is delusion. What is delusion? Delusion is seeing everything upside down. What is right, I see as wrong. What is wrong, I see as right. It is wrong for me to sleep and eat and lead a lazy life. But I think that is the right way. That is good. It's a good life. What is wrong? It is right for us to go to temple. It is right for us to pray. I see that as wrong. People are wasting their time. So you have a lopsided view of the world. So a tamasic person has got a totally lopsided. In fact, at the end of chapter 18, when Krishna gave his whole teachings to Arjuna, he only asked him one question. He says, has your moha, delusion, born out of ignorance, has it been removed? He didn't ask him anything else. He just wanted to know one thing. Has your moha, delusion, born out of ignorance, has that been removed? Now, once I give you knowledge, you cannot have moha, because once you have knowledge, you are able to analyze things properly, you are able to see things clearly. But a tamasic person cannot do that. Now, is tamas good or bad, therefore? Is tamas good or bad? Huh? Too much is bad. But so you still need tamas. Sorry, you still need to sleep, you still need to rest. But like what you said is true. If it's too much tamasic, then it is bad. So all the three gunas have their benefit, but we must be in control of them also. So the Lord says in verse 13, tamasi gunas, when they are vivriddhe, when they are fully developed, meaning when they suppress the rajasic and sattvic gunas, these are the qualities that you will get. Laziness, carelessness, sleeping, eating, moha, delusion, these are the what we call the manifestations in a tamasic person. So again, we have to watch all these kind of qualities also. And these gunas is very important because it affects every aspect of our life. Who are the friends we mix with? Where are the places we go to? What is the material we read? Even what food we are attracted to are all what we call affected by the gunas. So our total lifestyle actually is affected by the gunas. Once we understand the nature of the gunas, we understand our personality, then we know how to correct what is wrong. Okay. So now Krishna has explained about lingam. The next topic that Krishna wants to take up in verse 14 is about gati. Gati means at the time of death, when the mind is in sattvic dominant or rajasic dominant or tamasic dominant, what is the direction upon death? So where will this person go? If you die with dominant sattvic gunas in your mind, or rajasic gunas in your mind, or tamasic gunas, where you go? Now, this also explains to us one thing, that Don't think that just because you lead a decadent life, then at the last days of your death, there you sit down and read Bhagavad Gita, suddenly you become sattvic. What he's trying to tell you here is that the type of life that you've led will be your dominant guna at the time of death. So it cannot be just automatically changed like that. Just because of 1-2 days you read the Gita and you go up to heaven or something. It is the way you led your whole life, right? So first of all, verse number 14, he explains to us the destination of a person who dies in sattvic guna dominant. Okay. Uh, so first thing we have to understand now, how do the gunas affect our destination? So as I've explained to you before, we have three bodies. Okay. One is the gross body, which we call as Stula Sharira, Sthula, Stula Sharira. That is the gross body. That during the time of death is cremated, is gone. It's not going to travel with you. Then there are two other bodies which we have. One is called the Sukshma Sharira, Sukshma, Sukshma Sharira, which is called a subtle body. Okay, the subtle body is your mind, your intellect, your what we call your memories. Okay, all this mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankar. Okay, these are the four things. And these are in subtle form. It's not a gross mind, gross intellect. It's all very subtle. And the third body is called the uh, Karana Sharira, Karana, Karana Sharira, which is the causal body. So every action that you're doing, the imprint of your action is in the Karana Sharira. Every action you do, good action, the imprints go into your Karana Sharira, into your causal body. You do rajasic actions, selfish actions, all the imprints go into your causal body. So at the time of death, the causal body and the subtle body leave the gross body because the gross body is gone. Okay, and this is what travels to find the next right place. Because if you're sattvic, your tendency will take you to one place. If you're rajasic, the tendency will take you to a different place. If you're tamasic, the tendencies will take you to a different place. So this is where your gunas come into play. The type of life you led, that dominant guna will be in your causal body, and your causal body will direct you to the next birth according to your guna. So this is why we have to be very careful about our actions also. Okay. So here he says, Yada, when Deha Brit, the embodied being, the Jiva. Okay, the Jiva, I've explained to you, I think 1 or 2 weeks ago, right, is the reflected consciousness, not the Atman, the reflected consciousness together with the causal body and the subtle body. So what happens when it undergoes death, pralayam? Here it means that when it detaches from the gross body, so the jiva, the subtle body, the gross body will detach, the jiva, the subtle body and the causal body will detach from the gross body. So when it detaches from the gross body, what happens? And at that time, Sattva Guna Pravriddhe, the Sattvic Gunas are Pravriddhe, they are most fully developed. They are the dominating Guna in this person who has died now. Okay, what happens? The Lord says, Tadha, then at that time, Pratipadyate, this Jiva and the causal and the subtle body will attain Amalan Lokan. Amalan means taintless, pure. Lokan means the worlds. So which are these taintless worlds? These are the 6 lokas which are above earth. Okay, we are now on which loka? What is this loka called? Bhuloka. So above Bhuloka, there are these 6 lokas. What are they? You remember? Better remember because you have to go there. Bhuva, Swaha, Maha, Jana, Tapa, Satya. 6 lokas. Okay. So why are they taintless? Because in these lokas you have no pain, no problems, nothing will trouble you. You can do whatever you want. Okay, that's why it's called taintless. There is no problem, there is no disease, there is uh, no problematic situation, no worries, nothing at all. Everything is wonderful. And why we have six lokas? Because the more sattvic you are, the more good deeds you have done, the higher the lokas you go. The higher the lokas you go, the more pleasures, the more enjoyments are there. Okay, so six lokas are there, taintless lokas. This is where the jiva will go with the subtle and the causal body. Okay, but we all know that these lokas are only temporary. Once you have exhausted your punyams, your good deeds, you have to come back to earth. So this is also a very temporary thing. That's why even if you die in sattvic guna predominant, you go to swarga loka, but it is also temporary. What we want to know is how to go above this. We don't want to go to heaven. We want to go above this. Okay. So he says, where there is no pain, there is no suffering, the taintless worlds where you get divine pleasures, they are attained by who? Vidam, by the adorers of Uttamam, the higher. So when he means, what does he mean to say that you go to the places which are adored by the higher, meaning here the great sages and saints also reside. Because of their good deeds also they have done, they have not attained moksha yet, but they will also go to all these higher planes also. So you will also be together with all these sages and saints which are residing there. Okay. Uh, so again, all this is decided by your gunas. It is not a last minute action that you can suddenly change and decide where you want to go. Okay. And Swarga Loka does not mean moksha, it means you still have to come back also, come back again. So Swarga Loka is known as Bhoga Bhumi. Bhuloka, earth here, is called Karma Bhumi. That is the difference. Bhuloka, the earth where we are on, is called Karma Bhumi. The Swarga Lokas are called Bhoga Bhumi. What is the difference? The difference is this. In Bhuloka, whatever action you do, there is a reaction. Okay, good deeds, good reaction, bad deeds, bad reaction. But when you go to the Swarga Lokas, it's called Bhoga Bhumi, you can do anything you want, any action you perform, there is no reaction. So you only go there to uh, exhaust your punya karmas. You can only exhaust your punya karma. You cannot accumulate anymore. So even if you do wrong things there, it's no problem at all. But anything you do here in Bhuloka, you have to, it records what you call a karma phala. Okay. So you understand the difference between karma bhumi and bhoga bhumi. Okay. So now the next verse, verse 15, he will tell us what is the gati or the destination of a rajasic and a tamasic person. Okay. So verse 15. Pralayam gatva, when one attains, gatva means attains pralayam, meaning death, meaning this gross body comes to an end. And in that person, the rajasic gunas are predominant. Okay. What happens? Jayate, this person will take birth in karma sangishu, attached to places where there is activity, constant activity. So the Rajasic dominant person, because he is so restless, so many desires push to activity, at the time of death, where does he come back? He comes back to earth again. He doesn't get Swarga Loka, he doesn't get Naraka Loka, comes back again to earth, because as I said earlier, earth is Karma Bhumi. It is where he can do all sorts of actions he wants to do, he will get a result for that action. Whereas in Bhoga Bhumi, you don't get any results at all. Okay. So he will take another human birth, he will go on carrying on all his actions, keep on doing all his actions, and therefore you can see they are trapped in a perpetual cycle of desires, greed, action, death, come back again, take birth, desire, greed, action, death, birth. So it just goes on and on and on, right? That is the destination or the gati of a Rajasic person. Now the question is, how can you get out of this? So that's most important. That is what we will want to know. So slowly we'll come to that answer. How can we escape this whole cycle? Okay. Now we look at what happens to the tamasic predominant people at time of death. So the Lord says in verse 15, Tatha, similarly, Pralinas, when the gross body dies and tamasic gunas are predominant, this person, Jayate, will take birth in, see the word used, Muda Yonishu. So Yoni means a womb. Muda means wombs of deluded species, meaning lower forms of life like animals, insects, etc. Okay, or even moreover, sometimes you can take birth in the what you call the Naraka lokas, the 7 lokas of hell. Okay, so there are 7 lokas below. That is Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Rasatala, Talatala, Mahatala, Patala. There's 7 lokas below that. Again, the more worse actions you've committed, the lower the loka you go, the more the punishment is there. But once you finish your punishment, you come back again to Bhuloka. Okay? And if you are born in Bhuloka again, you might not get the human birth. You might have to take all this birth in form of animals or insects, etc. So that is tamasic. Okay. So why you have to come back in all these what we call animal, insect, birds is that because when you were tamasic, what were you doing most of the time? Sleeping and eating. So Lord is asking, why do you need a human birth? You don't need a human birth to sleep and eat. You can be an insect also, you can sleep and eat also. Okay. So that appropriate situation is found for you based on your gunas. If that is what you want, that is where you will end up with. Okay. And you don't get any what you call, when you go to all these lokas, as I said, you don't get any extra boons. And even on earth also, if you take an animal life, okay, let's say you're a cow, you take an animal life, and I want to do abhishekam, okay, the cow gives me the milk, I use the milk and do abhishekam. Who gets the punyam? Does the cow get the punyam? Huh? Cow doesn't get punyam because, why I'll tell you. Whatever actions performed by an animal is what we call a program action. He cannot make a decision. It's not a conscious action that I'm giving milk for the abhishekam. It is a what we call a automatic action, right? Whereas a human taking the milk and giving abhishekam is a conscious action, right? So it's action done with the right devotion and all that. So in animal form, insect form, you have no choice. You're just living a program life at all. So that is how, in that kind of environment, you don't even get any punyam. And at the same time, if you're a tiger, you kill a deer. Do you get papam? You don't get papam because it is a program life. So in an animal, insect life, neither do you get punyam, neither do you get papam. So you just exhaust your karmas. That's all. Okay. Depends on your karmas. If what you have done, how much you have to repay back. So it can be one animal life, kill again, come back another animal life. So it depends on all the how much karmas you have to burn there.
If they are already programmed, then they are just living a program life.
That means they are exhausting their karmas in that particular. Let's say they come as a tiger, example, exhaust that, but they might still have some other karmas. They come back in another different animal form, right? So there is no guarantee. That's why we should be grateful for what that we have taken this human birth, right? It has taken us a lot of effort to get to where we are now, a lot of effort. So we should not waste this precious human birth at all.
But some animals live
Yeah, yeah.
like turtle,
Yes, true.
with the elephant.
Correct, correct.
So that probably be because that's their only life to pay back for their karma.
Possible, it's possible because yeah, some of them have got so much karmas to pay back that yeah, they take a turtle life or an elephant life and they burn and exhaust their karmas. Some come for a very short time and then they die. So everybody is got. In fact, somebody was telling me, I was saying the dog life is you cannot worship. He says his dog is vegetarian, doesn't want to eat meat. So very strange because dogs like to eat meat and whenever they do worship, the dog likes to come and sit down and hear the. So maybe there's some sattvic gunas there also in him that is driving him there. So okay, so that is what is called the tamasic gati or the tamasic destination. Now in verse 16 and 17, Krishna is going to explain to us what is the phalam or the fruit of sattvic, rajasic, tamasic action while living. The earlier verses talk to us about destination upon death. Now in 16 and 17, he will talk about the phalam, the fruit, what we will experience while we are living. Okay. So let us look at verse number 16. So in 16, see the word he uses there. You can see the word in the first line of the Sanskrit text, ahu. Ahu means they say. So this is what Krishna is saying. He's saying they say. So who are they? Who are those people who say about the phalam of sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic action? Here, Krishna is pointing to all the noble sages and saints because they have come, they have learned the knowledge, they have lived a sattvic life. So they are also are telling us, the disciples and all of us, what they have experienced also, right? So these noble souls, they have followed the path and they have experienced the benefit or the fruit of sattvic gunas, right? Peace of mind, tranquility of mind, compassion, etc. At the same time, even our scriptures tell us what is the destruction that happened to all these Rajasic and Tamasic people. So in our scriptures, you have examples of divine saints like Ved Vyasa, Adi Sankaracharya, Vashishta, Vishwamitra, so many, okay, Ramana Maharishi, and you can see the what you call the type of people they were, very cultured, very calm, what we call tranquility of mind, etc. At the same time, we can see the opposite in those people like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu. See how their Rajasic and Tamasic tendencies led to their destruction also. Okay, Duryodhan is another example. So now the Lord is saying, so he's saying that not only he is giving this conviction, but even the great sages and saints have said the same thing. What have they said? Phalam, the fruit of Sukratasya. Phalam Sukratasya. Sukratasya means good, virtuous, noble, karmana, actions. So they say that the fruit of good, noble, virtuous actions is sattvikam, which is accomplished because of sattvic gunas. People do noble actions, good actions. What is the result? Nirmalam, pure, purity. Actions which are done where the intention is pure, result also will be pure. So when we perform our duty and virtuous by doing our virtuous actions according to the path of dharma, the result can only be pure. But what does this purity mean? Okay, one definition of purity is that it eradicates the ego, anger, jealousy, greed, etc. It dilutes away all these qualities. The second definition of purity is that once these impurities are washed away from our mind, they results in peace of mind, tranquility of mind. So what is it that disturbs us is all this ego, jealousy, greed, anger, etc. So by performing sattvic actions, you can experience your mind getting more and more tranquil. The more and more sattvic actions you perform, the more and more you find your mind gets more tranquil. And you don't respond to, you don't, I won't say respond, you don't react. You don't react. So there's a difference between responding and reacting. What's the difference? You know the difference between responding and reacting. Responding is reacting with knowledge. Reacting uh, is without knowledge you react. Okay, without thinking, without clarity, you just perform the action. So there is a difference here. You'll find in your own self, you have more tranquility of mind, more peace of mind, and you don't tend to react quickly to situations. You're able to be calm, you're able to go back, think about it, and then decide what you want to do. So another thing is such a mind, as he said earlier, will be very conducive to listening and absorbing spiritual knowledge. So you find that you have interest in listening and also absorbing spiritual knowledge. So this is the fruit of what we call sattvic actions. Now, sattvic thoughts and sattvic actions, you get benefit in three ways. Okay? Three ways. What are the three ways? First, at mental level, okay, we look at the mental level. Your thoughts are noble. Okay, the more sattvic your mind is, the more noble your thoughts. You're always thinking about what good you can do for others. Okay, so noble at mental level, your thoughts are noble, and noble thoughts lead to noble actions. And when you do that, the result is a peaceful, composed mind. So at the thought level, mental level, there is benefit. Second, you find the second benefit comes at speech level. The words that you speak will always be loving, will always be kind, will always be compassionate. We will not use harsh words. We won't use foul language. So you find the second benefit of a sattvic mind is at the speech level also, there is control also. And the third biggest benefit you get, you go back to chapter 3, verse 10, 11, and 12. So go back and have a look at chapter 3, verse 10, 11, and 12. That is on page 63 and 64. Okay. Now, here, very beautifully, Krishna has said in this chapter 3, verses 10, 11, and 12, that the Creator created mankind along with the spirit of yajna. So when he created human beings, his intention was that all human beings live in the spirit of yajna. What is yajna? Yajna is sacrifice. What is sacrifice? Meaning I do things for the welfare of others. Right? Of course, not everything you take care of your family and all that is there also, but your attitude is always to what you call serve society and think about the welfare of others. This is what the Lord created human beings for. So to live in peace and live in harmony. Those who have more help those who have less. Then the next verse he tells us, what is the benefit of living a life of yajna? Foster the gods through yajna and let the gods foster you. So every time we do good deeds, have good thoughts, good actions, the gods, meaning all the various devas, they will in turn bless you. Not that you don't have to ask for it. It is unasked for. You just carry on doing good actions, good thoughts, and what happens? The devas, I mean all the various devas, they will in turn bless you back. And then the next verse he says, fostered by sacrifice, the gods will surely bestow on you unasked all the desired enjoyments. Okay, so it is not that you are desiring this or desiring that. Your mind has got no desires. I'm just doing it as an instrument of the Lord. I'm doing it as a service to mankind. But the devas will bless you back for. Okay, and another thing he says very important. He who enjoys the gifts bestowed by the devas without giving them in return is a thief. So When you get so much of blessings, whatever you have, okay, doesn't mean that you must have 10 million, 20 million, then you consider as a blessing. Whatever you have, take a little portion of it and share back again with society. You will never lose. So this is where a sattvic mind will take you, because a sattvic mind, noble thoughts, noble actions, devas bless you again, you give back again. That is the cycle of creation that has been created by the Lord. So here we find that we have three benefits: at mental level, at speech level, and also at this level where we get blessings by the devas also. So that's why Krishna says the fruit of sattvic action is nirmalam. It is only pure. You can only get purity back. And what about rajasic? What about rajasic action, which is given in also verse 16? So again, you look at the word in Sanskrit, and that's why sometimes it's so important we try to understand a little bit of Sanskrit. You see in the third line, the word tu, tu, tu means to differentiate sattvic palam with rajasic and tamasic palam. Okay, is telling you the difference. I already told you about sattvic. Now I'm going to tell you about rajasic and tamasic palam. So what is the result of rajasic palam? This, remember this, it is while you are living. It is not after death, while you are living. So the more and more selfish actions you do, the more and more you have greed and you're driven to do a lot of selfish actions, what will be your present state? Rajasa phalam, consequence is dukkam, sorrow. Now you may say, I don't agree with that, because Rajasic people have a lot of money, they have wealth, they've got power, they've got position. So what kind of sorrow is there? A Rajasic person works very hard. He has a lot of desires, but he works hard. He acquires this, acquires that, rich business people. So what kind of sorrow? I also want to be Rajasic, isn't it? What sorrow is there? So we must always remember, when scriptures tell us about sorrow, they are not talking about the material life. They are talking about your internal state of mind. Outwardly, he may look very happy, with driving a big car, living in a big house, eating at a fancy restaurants. But inwardly, the mind is constantly tormented by greed and greeds and desires. So we can even see rich people also, they do commit suicide also. There are many cases. You just go online and to do a research, you will find so many cases of even rich people committing suicide. And you ask yourself, everything he has, why does he want to kill himself? No, the poor person doesn't kill himself, the rich person go and kill himself. So here when the scriptures talk about dukkham, they look at the state of the mind. So in fact, the scriptures tell us this. At all stages of our desire, there is sorrow. How? When we pursue an object, we haven't got it yet, we are in pursuit of an object, are we happy or not happy? You haven't got it yet. Every day you're dying for it, you're hankering for it, you haven't got it yet. So is your mind at peace or not? No, right? So before you have it, before you've got it, your mind is already a stress and tension. Will I get it? When will I get it? How will I get it? Okay. When you get it, are you happy? Temporary you're happy. But so again you become unhappy, right? So while pursuing you're not happy, when you get it also you're not happy. And again, why, another reason why you're not happy, because you must hold on to it. You don't want anybody to take it away from you. You work so hard to get to this power, to this position. Somebody tries to challenge you and bring you down, you're also not happy. So pursuit, there's no happiness. Getting the thing is no happiness. And when you lose it, then also there is happiness. So the scriptures tell us, running after it, no happiness. You get it also, no happiness. And eventually, if you lose it, there's no happiness also. So we are talking about at the mental level. There is torment. There is what you call unhappiness in such a rajasic mind. Okay. And if you go to chapter 16, beautifully describing a demoniac mind. A demoniac mind here means a rajasic mind. So if you look at chapter 16, verses 11 and 12, pages 284, chapter 16, verse 11 and 12 is describing a demoniac person, meaning a rajasic person, living with endless number of anxieties, ending only with death, given to the enjoyments of sensual pleasures and regarding this as the ultimate. Next verse, bound by hundreds ties of expectation, given over to passion and wrath, they strive to obtain wealth by unjust means for fulfillment of desires. When they cannot get it by legal means, they will try illegal means, because so much they are being driven by their greed and by their desires. So this is the problem with the rajasic mind. And also earlier in chapter 3, go back to chapter 3, see verses 36 and 37. Chapter 3, verses 36, 37. Page 75, 75. Chapter 3, verse 36, 37. There Arjuna asks Krishna a beautiful question. By what is a man compelled to commit sin as if driven by a force? Doesn't want to commit sin, but something is driving him to do these wrong actions. And Krishna gives the answer in the next verse. This desire born of the mode of rajas is anger, all devouring and most sinful. Know this to be the enemy. So it is a rajasic gunas in us that drive us, and when we cannot control them, then they lead us to the sin. Sin meaning living a life where you break all the laws of dharma. Okay, so rajas is a very dangerous what you call quality, and it can bring about our downfall. Okay, so don't get it wrong here. Money is there, fame is there, power is there, but what the scriptures are talking about, there is no peace of mind. Okay, good example in our scriptures is who? Very good example. Huh? Ravan, right? Ravan was the king of Lanka. He had everything. Everything he had. He had all maximum amount of money, power, wealth, all beautiful ladies as his wife, everything he had. But one thing he didn't have, what was that? Sita, he didn't have, that made his mind so, turbulent, so tormented. He had to go after her and ended up in his own destruction. Had he quietly sat in Lanka, he would have been very happy. But that is the nature of a rajasic mind. So now the Lord also talks about the tamasic palam in the same verse. He says, Ajnanam, ignorance, is the palam of a tamasic person. From birth until death, the person stays in a state of ignorance. Because there's no activity. If there's no activity, how will you get knowledge? If you don't want to do any action, you won't get any knowledge also. Okay. So the progress is very, very slow for such a person. Okay. A tamasic person would remain in perpetual ignorance. Okay. But then the question is asked, is there no hope for tamasic person? How will this tamasic person? He doesn't want to perform activity. He doesn't get knowledge. He doesn't get knowledge. He remains in tamasic state. How will he ever get out of this tamasic state? So one very good example, again, we go back to our scriptures, is Ratnakara. You know who's Ratnakara? I don't know who's Ratnakara. Huh? Huh? Ratnakara is the old name of Valmiki. Right. Ratnakara first was a highway bandit. He used to rob sages and saints. They were going for their pilgrimage, he used to rob them. Until one day he met Narad Muni. And Narad Muni changed his whole life. Right? So such a tamasic person like Ratnakara, but maybe there is some good deed or something he might have done, some good karma that made him connect to this life with Narad Muni. And Narad Muni made him change his whole way of thinking, change his whole life, made him write the, what do you call that, Ramayan, right? Ramayan. And then he took on the name as Valmiki. So he became Valmiki, the sage and saint. So there is a possibility for people to change, and that's why in human birth we have the free will. So even we are very rajasic, we are very tamasic, by our free will we can change our nature to sattvic. It all depends on the effort that we put in. Okay, and that is the beauty of human life also. So we will come back next week and we'll take up from verse number 17. We end with the prayer. वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचानूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं.